and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of March 18th, 2013. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Whew. Man, got through it. I actually had a couple takes just now where I did not get through that. I don't know why. Ever since I asked people to send in videos about them doing the intro, I can't do it myself anymore. Anyway, man, it's been a crazy week, has it not? I promised you guys that there were big things on the horizon, and I announced this Friday Collabs, which is my production level educational training program here at Arconix Animation Studios, as well as online through theoryanimation.com. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out Collabs, COLLABS.arconix.com. In fact, I'll probably put a link up. There's probably a link on the video right now, and I don't even know where it's going to be, so I can't point to it. That's right there. Anyway, so I promised there's going to be a big announcement, and that is the big announcement. If you're excited about it, join the club. I'm extremely excited about it, but the downside of all this excitement is that it is actually filling up extremely fast. There are only a few, well, if I accept everybody who's applied so far, there's only a few spots left already. So if you're thinking about this, you do need to apply. So go to collabs.arconix.com and check it out. And watch the video there, watch the informational video. Also, I will be announcing some more information about Collabs in the coming weeks via webcast on kennyroy.com on the homepage. So if you're not already, please follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Be my friend so that you don't miss that information, okay? Good. But we still have a lot of work here to do on kennyroy.com. We still need to keep the gears rolling and the wheels grinding, or the other way around. And so that means we need to get to the Ask Videomail this week. This is very interesting. Well, you'll see why it's interesting, but to me, this is a technical issue as well as a workflow issue. Obviously, that's the kind of questions that I love to answer here on the Ask Videomail. So don't be shy if you have one that falls within that category. But also, don't be shy at all. Actually, don't be shy in general. Please send in an Ask Videomail question. There have been a lot of signups in the past couple months, and I've been very, very careful to watch and see if the people who are signing up are asking questions, and like nobody is. So you ought to. Just send it in. You have nothing to lose. Also, if you want to send me your Maya file, I love to get Maya files, so send those as well. I'll open it up on screen. Maybe if you're having just a normal run-of-the-mill animation problem, you want me to take a look, I'd love to. Okay, but let's take a look at the question today. Yikes. Yikes. Well, first of all, the first thing I'd like to say is I'd hate to be the studio that has rigs that are so bad that it gave you the inspiration to ask that question of me. What do you do when the rigs are so bad that you can't even use the graph editor? Well, I thought I would reference real quickly the lecture where I say how to properly test a rig. It's in the store. Also, it is available for streaming view. It's a cheaper pay-per-view download than if you go into the store. I want everyone to know that all of the past content, all of the Ask Videomails have been separated now, so they're not in a pack like they were in the store, separated, and you can pay-per-view download them, and you can watch them as many times as you want in 24 hours. So it's a lot better deal, and you can get caught up a lot easier with all the content here on kennyroy.com. Okay, but at any rate, if you check out the how to properly test a rig lecture, one of the first things I talk about is the fact that a lot of the times that what makes a bad rig is the fact that the controls are not actually zeroed, or at least in the same world space. All right. So what that means is when you have a arm control, so two hand controls that are IK, and you grab the waist control and you move them all forward, if you look in the graph editor, and they are either going in opposite directions, like one is negative Z and the other one's positive Z, or they're traveling in different distances, you've got a big problem. Now I won't open up some rigs and show you, because I show you in that lecture how to properly test a rig. That's why it's called that. And I open up plenty of rigs that have problems like that. But that's one of the worst things that you can encounter when you're dealing with a rig like that. But I also give you a tip on how to correct it, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to correct that. So the main problem that you run into when you have a rig that is not created correctly is you have, like I said, you have the controllers, when you move them, they don't actually move in the same object space, or they don't even move in the same direction, okay? Bloke is pretty good, okay? This is Bloke, and I've moved his 2-foot controls and his waist or his cog or whatever you want. I've moved them all, and I'm just like shifting them now, okay? I've moved them all just in panel, and as you can see, because they're perfectly parallel and they're the same distance and direction in the graph editor, that they were created with fantastic object space. Basically everything is where it should be, and everything is working great. All right. Now, when you have a rig that does this, where you grab both feet and one of them does like this kind of action, where it's like opposite, you've got a big problem. Because how are you ever going to look in the graph editor and work with predictable results? Hopefully you have a workflow that includes the graph editor to a large degree. I do believe that working in the graph editor is a major part of a successful workflow in 3D. Okay, so what you do is you have to kind of re-rig the character. So you have to kind of actually recreate the object space that you want the character to move in. Now, if you're working in IK, it's really easy. If you're working in FK, or you have sort of an FK-IK blend going on, things get a little bit more tricky, okay? And we can talk about that. Maybe that will be another lecture that I'll do in the future, where we talk about rerouting a skeleton, a little bit more complex than this. But basically, what we know is we have basically a root, and we have the feet, and the feet are not affected by the root. So we're going to make new controls. And it's very, very, very simple, but you don't have to be, if you know anything about constraints, you can be, you can do this. You don't have to be like a rigger or anything of the sort, or know anything about scripting or anything like that. This will still work, okay? So I'm just going to select it. I recommend you download. There's a script called KK Controllers from Creative Crash. It's really good because it just has like these really, really simple controls that you can create, and it creates them at the pivot of whatever is selected, so you know that it's it's going to stay put. Anyway, so I just created this little foot control. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Actually, I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to make both of them, but I'm going to scale them at the same time so that I know that they are working correctly. Okay, basically like that. And now, because these are in world space right now, I can just constrain, I can parent constrain the feet to these new controllers that I just made. Okay, so I'm going to hit G, that redoes the last command, the G key does. Did I say J or did I say G right now? It's G, as in giraffe or gorgonzola, cheese. Okay, so now here we go. Now we have our curve. Now if you want, now let me undo that really quickly. If you want, you can actually change them. Oh, I forgot to freeze transforms. Let me show you how to do that as well. If you want, you can change these to actually fit the object that they're moving. So I'm in component mode right now, and I'm just going to make them fit the feet shape just a little bit more. Okay, so that's good. Actually, we can do a little better than that. Oops. Is reflection on? Reflection should not be on. There we go. Okay. So now we have our feet, whatever. There we go, perfect. If you want, you can make them reflect the, the controller they're using. A lot of times, totally honest with you, a lot of times I use locators because it doesn't really matter. Because I'm not going to be really working on a shot for so long that I really need to look beautiful. So what you want to do is you want to delete history, which is Alt-Shift-D. Okay, that deletes history on the selected objects, and then you want to go to Modify, Freeze Transformations, and make sure Translate, Rotate, and Scale is frozen, and then you can rename them if you want. But then we'll actually create the constraint. Let me just make sure that Maintain Offset is on and all the axes are selected. That's good. All right, so this, and then Shift select this guy, hit G. All right. So now, check it out. Now we have our controls. They're zeroed now. I apologize for not doing that first. KK control is nice as well because you don't have to go into the overrides to access the colors. So you can slide this little slider right here and pick different colors for different controls, which is also nice to do. To have like the left and right side be different colors. See, now they're red and yellow, which is cool. Normally left is blue and red is right. Seems like this guy kind of follows that. Sort of. Anyway, so now, even if it wasn't before, now if I set a key and, well, let me delete the keyframe on this guy. Now if I grab all these guys, I set a key and I move them forward. Oops. Can I talk and animate at the same time? I'm beginning to doubt myself. We will have, in the graph editor, we'll have the exact same curve basically on the translates. You see that? So, oh sorry, and the root here. So here's the root as well. So as you can see, here's the left foot, here's the right foot, and here's the root. And you're not seeing any change on the graph editor, and that's good, because they're all the exact same curve, right? So I've done this a lot of times with, there's a rigging script that we use quite often called Anzavin Rig Tools. What is the tool called? It's called Set It Machine, sorry, Set It Machine. So when we need like a really quick character, we always throw Set It Machine into it. Not always, sometimes we use other scripts and our own custom stuff, but we use Set It Machine very, very often. One of the problems with the older versions of Set It Machine was the feet actually were in a different object space than the root. Very, 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 very big problem for us. We were using this religiously. We were basically redoing the object space of the feet so that it would match world space along with the root. And you know, it's c'est la vie. It's just, you know, getting it done. You know what I mean? So you can do this. I know everyone who's watching can follow along and do this. Like I said, it does get a little bit more complicated if you are creating, or if you're putting animation on something like an FK arm or something like that. It's not impossible though, not at all. Maybe I'll turn that into a lecture, how to reroute a skeleton if it's really, 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 really bad. But that's primarily the reason I did this right now. The fact that there are different object spaces working on the controls, that is the main cause for this problem. Okay, the main issue there. Okay, so if you can't work in the graph editor, maybe you can do this. Another thing you can do is this. Maya 2014 has this. I'm not allowed to show Maya 2014, I don't think yet, but there is a tool called Blue Pencil that came out, and basically it is a way to thumbnail in panel. So if you can't work in the graph editor and you have to rely on what you're seeing, then why don't you set a goal for yourself for what you want to see? Okay, so if we have a frame where, you know, bloke is basically down here, right, and he's, you know, in his T pose. Let's get a better line there. Okay. He's in his T-pose, and we aspire to, we really would love to see, him match our thumbnail where we have him like up in the air and really, really stretched. Then you're gonna love the new Blue Pencil tool in Maya 2014. Or if you can't upgrade to 2014, look for Blue Pencil. It's a tool. I think it's like 99 bucks for professionals, and maybe even less. I hope less for students, because it's a very, very, very great tool for doing the following. So if we want him on frame 10, I'm going to add a keyframe right here, and basically let me ghost that. Right there, and you can do all of this with the new 2014 thing. It's kind of sad because it's putting the guy out of business, I imagine, but that's also life. If you want this guy really, really, really stretched, with his arm up in the air, and this one back, and his body like that, and maybe this knee up, big leg, and this leg straight down like that. Then now we have that thumbnail, right? So I can turn off draw, and now I can work in panel again. You got to be careful. You don't want to move your camera, because that'll screw everything up. The Blue Pencil is always linked to the camera, so you want to do it through the camera that your shot camera. You want to lock it. I'm in perspective right now, but it's just for demonstration purposes, right? So here we are. Let's just aspire to get what we drew here. Got a little bit of contrapposto here. And Bloke is really difficult sometimes because his head is sort of FK and IK, and his and it's always on isolate. I don't think you can turn that off, which is a pain in the butt. Trying to select just curves here. In my advanced workflow lecture, which I think is the very, very, very first lecture that's actually in the store, in that lecture I talk about a multi-discipline approach. I talk about a multi-media approach. So thumbnailing in 2D and getting those thumbnails into Maya. Now back then when I made that lecture, I had to basically fudge everything because you had to scan your drawings, or you had to do them with a Wacom and import them. God forbid you wanted them to actually show up in your Maya file. Oops, I did the opposite legs, didn't I? That's okay. Well, this thumbnail is not going to prevent me from getting what I want. Let's see if I can stretch the leg. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All the way down there. Cool. So now I turn off. Wait, how do I turn this off? Oh, you have to select it. My bad. So I'm just going to hide that. So then now you have your pose. And if you are depending on the panel, then it's a better idea to basically have your ideas kind of worked out even before you get to posing your character, right? So I might want to have this guy anticipate. So on frame 5, I'll make a new keyframe, and I'll turn on ghost forward and backwards, and I'll turn on draw, and I'll have this kind of crunched up anticipation pose where he's getting ready to leap into the air. Something like this, right? And so if I hide Bloke, or if I hide everything, there like that, turn off joints, then I can actually play this back and work out my timing as well. Okay? So I do believe, and this is part of the reason why I am a little bit of a stickler on people resuming the pursuit of drawing skills, and why it might be a little annoying to people, but the way I see it is that as production schedules accelerate and as we get just like more and more and more work out of less and less and less time, it's kind of how it has to work. Why are we not taking advantage of like these visual cues that can help us along the way? Especially if you have a rig that's not behaving and you can't really pose test everything, you need to have another way to show you what you want to happen in panel and then go for that, right? Instead of like fighting a rig the whole time and never quite getting what's in your head, because what's in your head never got out in a pure form on screen. With the thumbnails and like the blue pencil, it can get out in a pure form. And you can work on that until you're happy with it and then just match it rather than fighting a rig to get to something that's still stuck in your head. Does that make sense? So my overall advice would be to first look and see if you've properly tested that rig and see if the controls are working for you in world space. But if it's really just like a terrible rig, maybe you want to have a talk with your supervisor saying like, hey, I'm having trouble getting animation like you've seen on my demo reel, because this rig it really does not live up to the standards that I'm used to. So what can we do about that? And then also maybe take on a little bit more of a multidisciplinary approach where you can get your ideas out onto screen, unadulterated, unfiltered, and then go for that as a goal rather than fight a rig the whole time. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I'd love to see more questions just like this, technique and workflow. I love it. Please send them my way. Send them to webmaster@kennyroy.com. All new members, I'm talking to you right now. Why haven't you sent a question in? What are you waiting for? Send one in. I will love to see it. I'd love to read it and answer it in a video just like this one. I hope you've had a fun time. Go check out collabs.arconics.com one more time if you want to plug that. Good luck with your animation. And as always, rock on.